New at 5, as temperatures fall, hypothermia can set in quicker, so it's important to recognize the signs and know what to do. Meteorologist Garrett Hamilton is live in downtown Springfield with the ways to keep you and your family safe.
Paul, I am very quickly regretting my decision to only wear a windbreaker today. Temperatures have dropped very quickly, and it is quite chilly here on the square, where hundreds of people are going to gather tomorrow to watch the Christmas parade. But if you're going to get out tomorrow or on Sunday, you're going to want to make sure to bundle up, because that hypothermia, it can settle in very, very quickly.
I had been on an incident where a younger girl had fallen into a pond. When we responded, we got her out, and she was basically hypothermic at that point. We did start CPR. It was about 3 hours in at the hospital as well.
The young girl survived, and her story serves as a reminder to take cold seriously. Hypothermia occurs when the body's internal temperature drops below 95 degrees. Layers can help you stay warm.
I usually like to put a little thin thermal on, then I'll usually do maybe like a light jacket, usually a heavy coat. Usually keeps me pretty warm.
Health experts recommend starting with a thin layer, such as a shirt, and gradually building up, finishing with a thick winter jacket. You'll also want to wear a hat and gloves to protect all exposed skin. And Luke Spain, an injury prevention coordinator with Cox Medical Group, warns hypothermia can impact certain age groups more than others.
With both elderly and with children is they're much more susceptible to temperature changes. A lot of times parents say, well, if I'm feeling fine, the kid should be fine. But the reality is a child is not able to regulate their body temperature the same way as an adult.
Early symptoms include shivering and changes in skin color. If you experience any of these symptoms, go indoors and warm up slowly. Avoid sitting directly in front of space heaters or fireplaces, or running extremities under hot water. This can cause the body to go into shock, which is a medical emergency. More severe symptoms include shivering, stopping, loss of fine motor skills, confusion, and loss of consciousness. If you see someone exhibiting these symptoms, immediately dial 911. This is a medical emergency which can ultimately be fatal if untreated. Ultimately, Spain wants you to be careful when it comes to the cold, because hypothermia is an avoidable medical emergency.
Numbers in the ER and urgent cares are definitely going to spike as a result of those increased temperature drops. The best way to stay out of that mess is again, just to plan ahead and prevent those symptoms in the first place if you can.
And medical experts also tell me that hypothermia in elderly people as well as children can set in temperatures as warm as 40 degrees. So even once this cold snap passes through the Ozarks, just make sure that you're being careful this winter. In Springfield, I'm meteorologist Garrett Hamilton, KY3 News.